Hey gang, I was just thinking I'd talk a little bit about some of my design process behind these Marble World racetracks. Maybe thought people might find that interesting. If you do, stick around. Alright, so out of the 10 racetracks-ish that well, not ish, I think it's pretty clearly delineated. Out of the 10 racetracks I've built that match this mold of kind of a circuit track built for 12 to 36 maybe marbles to race on. I've made 10 of them, and this track right here was the one that started it all. It's Forest Raceway, and it was built very early on in Marble World's development. So that's, since it's my first track, that kind of explains why maybe it's not as well designed as some of the later ones, in my opinion. But also why it's missing some of the features that were added in later updates, as this was built during early access. If I remember correctly, this was built right after the freeform track editor was added to the game, which that's a pretty integral part of Marble World track building at this point. Anyway, another interesting tidbit about the circumstances in which I built this track was that I built it in large part at an airport while I was waiting for a flight. I had my laptop, figured I'd see what this new freeform track building system was about, and that kind of it was kind of an interesting way to do that. Now the first section of the lap, it's a fairly short lap overall, but the first section here is this lift right here, and any Ultimate Marble Racing watchers will be familiar with all of the downsides of using a ladder style lift like this. Not only that it's rather slow, as you can see right now, not very entertaining to watch, but also that marbles can have a lot of trouble trying to board the ladder at the bottom, and so it can be a spot where marbles can pass each other, and it's not really the most exciting place for that to happen. And you'll notice that this one is extra weird because it's actually two ladders that are kind of at a bent angle to each other, and that was I couldn't figure out a good way to join the bottom of the track to the top here at the start-finish line area, which is a little bit funny. And so I had to put in this angled piece to push the marbles off to the side. Super not ideal. And also there was a chance that marbles could fall off of this top rung over here, and they wouldn't get onto the next ladder very well for whatever reason. I don't know if it was kind of a collisions glitch or what, but that's why this second ladder is extending all the way down here, is just to try and catch marbles in case that happens. And anyway, proceeding out of the top of that, obviously in more modern tracks have much more modern ways of lifting marbles uphill, and I do like having that kind of uphill section just so you can have a downhill momentum through the rest of the course. Anyway, I've got this bit right here, which admittedly is a little bit tough to watch. You can see this marble coming in. Since I don't have name overlays turned on right now, you can barely see where he is. Fortunately, this little section of the props on the track is not maybe the most exciting bit of a race course anyway, so I suppose we're not missing so much. The idea behind doing a forest-themed track here is, I'm sure, because the forest and garden kind of track pieces were recently added to the game, and I figured that would be one of the easier and more straightforward track themes to build. And that was right, of course. We come around to this little log section, which is a little bit funny, as just you kind of roll through the log, I like that. And this bit here with the split path was always the most consequential part of the track. There were really only like 3 spots where marbles would consistently be able to pass each other, especially if there was more than a trivial gap between them. And this, at least at the start, was the most consequential of the 3 by far. So much so that I actually had to reduce the difference between the two sides. The right side is the fast one, the left side is the slow one, just because of there being more obstacles on the left side. Of course, the left is easier to go on, it's wider at this point. Anyway, so I had to remove some of the obstacles from the left side. That's why they were arranged in kind of a haphazard way, and I added some to the right side. These little bushes were not originally there. So that was one thing that changed throughout the process of building Forest Raceway. And then the second passing section was immediately after, and this cave here, I think it's decently cool that you have the little dropper holes. You want to fall in the earlier holes and not the later ones. That's a little way for marbles to pass each other. But it has the problem of being really difficult to watch and see what's going on. You kind of have to embed yourself down here, and it's a little bit tricky to figure out really what's going on. And then we have this little mushroom section. You can see that I really enjoyed putting these scenery pieces on the track at this point instead of putting on side decoration. This track really did not have any kind of side decoration besides this log apparently at the start. Even this background here was not present in the original version of the track. I added that later, and it's a pretty rudimentary background, but I think it looks pretty good, I would say. Then we drop into this river section down here at the bottom, which again, this is not a common passing area, nor is this kind of finish line flower garden area. It was really just this whole back section of the track was not really a great place for marbles to pass each other. The consequential parts were taking the fast path here, the cave technically a little bit, and of course mounting onto the ladder here at the bottom. And now we've seen kind of a full lap of this track. I figure maybe it would be a little bit cool to do a race on it. Now that you have that kind of context, maybe it'd be a little bit exciting. So pick your favorite of these 12 marbles you see here, and let's get rolling. My classic marble that I always like to cheer for was Whirlpool, although I was a big fan of Chip as well. Definitely like the blue marbles. Lots of blue marbles in this group, of course. Blue is a very lovely marble. These are all named after some of my childhood marble teams, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, this is one of the problems with having the ladders on your course, is it is very much slow. And there's Chocolate Bar. You could see they fell down a little bit like I was talking about at the mount between the two, and now Metal has caught up to Chocolate Bar because of that. And now that we have the name overlays, it's easier to see what's going on in this section. What's going on is not a lot of passing, really. It's kind of interesting. The booster in this log, I believe, was not initially there. It's not a very strong booster, so maybe not the most consequential. You can see Chip's taking the fast path. Looks like he was the only one. He's getting ahead. But yeah, so that log, most of the marbles go down it, so it's not like a major shortcut or anything. And yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the best way to see what's going on. Whirlpool, Haley. Snowball is doing quite well. I'm very partial to that one at Chip, and yeah, that's a lovely top two right there. But Carl does get ahead of Snowball in the river, so it's not a completely pass-free section. But yes, Chip does manage to hold that lead for the finish line. Anyway, so that's kind of some of the behind the scenes, and there will be, of course, a lot more to say on my later tracks that I built with perhaps some more expertise. See ya.